Are we back? It's saying offline. Let's refresh the YouTube page. Okay, so we're live. So today we're going to be going over an 820-00165 that has no brain. So I'm going to go over how you could diagnose this issue and find out what the issue is. Now, surprisingly, this board has no liquid damage. This is it's a 2015. I don't know exactly what part of 2015 they released this, but it's basically a 820-3437 with a Broadwell CPU. This board has absolutely no liquid damage whatsoever in any parts of the board, and it does not chime, it does not have an image on the screen, and it does not work. So if you noticed one thing, that I have the heatsink off the board. Now you might ask, why is this? So here, here's our CPU. Of course, hopefully all you watching this channel knows where the CPU is on this board. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my thumb on the CPU and I'm going to plug it in. Normally this will burn you, and I'm not kidding. They get fairly hot. So I'm going to plug it in. It's going to go through an RTC reset. Our fan will spin, stop, spin, stop, typical. And it'll go through an RTC reset for a minute. CPU is getting warm, not hot. It's not burning me hot. So it's getting warm. That means we must have... Yeah, I can't really do much about the buffering. Drop frame 0%. It's not on my end. Notice I'm still holding the CPU. I'm not getting burned by it. The fan is spinning. It's getting warm, so we must have power to the CPU, right? If it's getting warm, we either have a short or we have power. So I'm still holding it. It's getting hot, but it's not necessarily burning me. Usually I won't be able to hold it. So let's measure what our V core is. And I just pulled out the DCN connector, but oh well. So you guys aren't going to see this, but let's measure our V core, and our V core is going to show up. Let me put my screen capture on so you guys can see. No, that CPU is not hot. Let's see. Add display capture. Display capture. And I want monitor display 2. Oh, what did I screw up here? Leave it to me to screw up everything in OBS. Yeah, see, it's on and it's not even burning me. I could put my hand on the CPU. So move our board view to this side. So PP, VCC, SO, CPU is going to be in 2 phases. It's going to show up in these coils right here. And then we have this shunt resistor for current sense, CPU current sense, which are going to be fine. So let's see what we have on both these coils. Since it's in 2 phases, let's measure both phases. So I don't have my regular meter hooked up because the batteries die so quickly, but so you have to trust me. Phase 1 is 1.69 volts. Phase 2 is 1.69 volts. So we have V core to the CPU. Our second thing to check is going to be our 1.05 volt rail. It is going to show up on this coil right here. And let's measure that, because that's going to the CPU as well. And we have 1.05 volts. So the CPU has power, and my DCM board is hitting my fan. So our CPU has power, it's getting warm, it's not burning me, so it's not being told what to do, or it's not, now it's burning me. The PCH is burning me. freeze spray and be happy for another minute. So think about this. We have our fan spin. We're reaching SO state. So we have PM sleep S4L. We have all of the power rail initialization signals from the CPU, but we are missing something, obviously. Normally on these boards, it's an issue with SPI ROM traces or resistors. But the thing is with that is it can't be, it could be a trace, but it really can't be. This board has no liquid damage. So how is a trace going to get corroded when it does not have liquid damage? We can go through and check all of our SPI termination resistors, but we can assume that they're going to be fine. So what is independent of BIOS that the CPU needs? What is independent of what happens before, let's ask chat, what happens before the CPU even talks to the BIOS? So let's see if anyone here can answer that. What signal has to come up before the CPU can even talk to anything or do anything? So see if anyone will come up with this. In the meantime, I will pull up my next thing. Another thing we're going to check is so many of you know this. Plugging in a USB mouse, okay, it should light up. If it does not light up, you have a problem, obviously. So let's test that. Get our charger, let's plug it in, and let's get our USB mouse, and let's see. Always keep a USB mouse handy. You never know when you're going to need it. And why is that 0 volts? That should be 16 volts. Did my DCM board just blow up? Would not surprise me. Come on, really? Did that really just happen? Or did my charger blow up? It's one of the two. It's either my charger or my DCM board. Come on. Now PP3V42 is present. We have fan spin. What in the world happened? This DCM board is just working. And now it's not talking to the charger. Okay. Let me find a new DCM board, since this one is trash now. I have MacBook Air DCM boards laying all over the place. It's just, need to find one. Yeah, I'll pull it from... Oh, here's one. It's on the floor. Imagine that. So let's see, do we get 16 volts when we plug it in here? Yes, we get 16 volts and our fan spins. So let's check with our USB mouse again. And let's see if we get a light. We should get a light. And watch, now that I'm streaming, it's probably going to light up. But no, it's actually not. We have no light. Let's see. Yeah, you can see that. No light. So this board is brain dead. It is not working. So what comes before what comes before the CPU talks to the BIOS? The answer is platform reset. PLT reset needs to be asserted before the CPU can talk to the BIOS. I'm fairly certain about that. Not 100% sure, but let's look. Let's come on. Let's this up here. So PLT reset L, and this is coming from U500, and guess what U500 is? Anyone here should know what U500 is and what Broadwell means. So we have PLT reset L, and this is an output from the PCH. Now we need all of these signals to get this output. So let's go ahead and start checking these. So first one is PCH sus ACKL. Well, first let's see. Before jumping to conclusions, let's measure if this is coming out of the board. And you guys could probably already assume that if I'm jumping to checking those inputs, that it's probably not there. So this is going to show up near the SMC on this one component near the SMC. I think it's U20 something hundred. I don't know, but plug it in. Let's measure. This should be a high signal. It should be 3.3 volts. And let's guess the magic number that it's going to be is going to be 0 volts. So let's see. Yep, 0 volts. Does not even pulse. Nothing. So we are missing PLT reset L. And this board is not liquid damaged. So you guys can see we have several inputs and we have an output. So we do need our clock. I've already changed the clock chip on this. It still made no difference. We have PPV RTC. One thing I could check is R1450, but we're turning on. It's probably not going to be that. So let's go ahead and check PCH sus ACKL. So let's switch back to our board view and do a search. And that's going to show up. I'm going to look on the other side of the board. It's going to show up on this resistor near the SMC, R5231. So R5231. Hate these MagSafe things. They always, the screws that are on my bench always stick to them. So that looks like it's going to be the second resistor from the end and the second row. And let's measure. And we have 3.3 volts there. So on to the next one. Yeah, the fan could rub against my desk for all I care. So the next one is PM system reset L. So PM sys reset L, and that's going to show up on the SMC, under the SMC, or by some components over by U7870. Let me go to chat real quick, see if you guys have anything new. CPU is not being told to turn on. Chuck, you're not wrong. It's more the CPU is being told what to do, but it's not doing what it's being told to do because of some strange reason. Like right now, the fan is just sitting there spinning, stopping, spinning, stopping. So it's going to show up over here. Where is, okay. Trying to find, okay, here's that one component. And I think it's going to be that resistor. That resistor looks perfectly fine. Hey, and we are missing... No, we're not. We have 3.3 volts there, so that is fine. CPU is still not burning me. Well, actually, no, the CPU is burning me now, but it's not working. Just give it a little freeze every once in a while. So we have that. Let's move on. Our next one to check is PM, PCH, sys, power OK, and obviously if we're turning on, that's going to be there. So let's do a search. It's going to come from, I think, U1950, yeah. So. And that's going to be 3.3 volts. I don't even need to check it, but I will for the sake of the video. 3.3 volts, as I thought. Next one is PM, PCH, power OK. It's there. We're turning on. We're reaching SO state. So it has to be there. And that's going to come from U1950 as well. So in that same area. Yeah, if you didn't have PM, PCH, power OK, you're not going to get PM sleep S4L or any of that. So 3.3 volts, of course. So what's our next one? Our next one is PLT reset L. So, okay, well, we've checked what we needed to check. We have these inputs, but we have everything the CPU is being told to do, but the CPU is not doing anything, so the CPU is probably dead. But this is a 3.3 volt signal right here. Okay, let's look at the circuit that creates this. So okay. So PP3V3SO is going to go through this thing's logic gate, but whatever. Okay, you don't need to know what any of this is. This is 3.3 volts. This tells us to turn on and go to 3.3 volts. This has already been changed, but CPU is screwed up. So let's try jumping 3.3 volts from PP3VSO to PLT reset L. Let's see what happens. Do we get a light in the mouse? Do we get an explosion? Do we get a fire? What do we get? So let's just try that, just for the sake of science, and see what happens. So U2071. It's going to be near the SMC over here. And PP3VSO is going to be here, and we're going to jump it to right here. So something really simple. Where's my jumper wire? Should be right here. Yep. Plug in the fuse extractor and let's look at chat. No, CPU did not get 12 volts. No, so CPU had no water. You need to get CPU to get 12 volts. You need water to hit the CPU, and we're getting a PM sleep S4L, so probably not. Yeah, U1950 is one of my favorite chips too. That's when it's bad. My least favorite chip is the BIOS chip or the CPU. I'm getting pretty fond of changing SMCs. I don't mind it anymore. So something's probably wrong with me. I hate running wires. But hey, running wires beats working at McDonald's. So I ran a little jumper wire, and who knows what's gonna happen. This thing, it's probably a dead CPU. Seek professional help for what? I am a professional. I'm perfectly professional. I'm just running wires to CPU signals to see what happens. I'm perfectly professional. It pays a little bit more. Get off my tweezers. It's still on my tweezers. Come on, get off. Okay, so we have our wire. Is it crossed? It's good enough. Okay, so let's take votes. Will this turn on? Will it get a light? Will it go on fire? What is going to happen? So, let's do this. Yeah, seek professional help. Oh, I don't read ball SMCs. You guys think I'm crazy? No, I just heat the thing up with a lot of flux on the board, pull it off, and put it on the board, and it always works. Okay, fire. Let's see. Do we get a fan spin? We get a fan spin. The CPU still doesn't burn me. We're pulling 0.42 amps. We're doing a proper RTC reset. No, this won't catch on fire. This is gonna work. You guys are... No, it's probably not gonna work. Okay, and something has changed. I can almost not bear putting my hand on the CPU now, but we still get no... Okay, the CPU's hot. Okay, will this chime? Let's put it in a case and find out. We'll get an image on the screen. Will it do anything? Is this a dead CPU? Probably a dead CPU. Just like everything else that gets sent here. So. No need for heatsink. That's optional equipment. You don't need a heatsink in a laptop with a high-powered CPU. Completely optional. This is not going to work. The CPU is dead. I'm already saying that. With no light in the thing, it's not going to work, but maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe... No, the CPU, if it decided to reflow itself, it would have reflowed my finger too. It didn't reflow my finger. Alright, so will this is probably going to do nothing. I hope I'm wrong, but... Yeah, it's still doing an RTC reset. No, that ultrasonic cleaner is not going to fit a desktop, no way. We're pulling 0.45 amps. We have no image. Nothing. It's still brain dead. Let's plug in our mouse. So that was a fail. Rest in peace, poor little Broadwell CPU. I don't know. This has been something I've been seeing, but Broadwells are starting to drop. I don't know why they're dropping. They don't. It doesn't seem related. Yeah, there's no light in the mouse. It's brain dead. But I don't know why these CPUs are dying. But I hope this isn't going to turn into like the 2011 graphics chips. But this board has a dead CPU, and if you want to know how to find a dead CPU, do exactly what I just did. You know, vCore, measure that signal. Most times. So let's talk a little bit about PLT reset. That signal can be caused by many things. Oh, you guys didn't even see me test it, but yeah, it didn't work. So let's talk about platform reset. So platform reset being missing could be caused by a few things. Most commonly, it's clock chip issues. If you have corrosion on your clock chip, that can cause it. Replace a clock chip. Check your traces to the crystal. That's usually the cause of it. It could be corrosion under the SMC, could be corrosion under the PCH, could be bad SPI ROM traces or bad SPI ROM. In this case, wasn't liquid damage, but one thing we could try is heating the SPI ROM chip. But usually if you don't have corrosion anymore, or you don't have corrosion on your clock chip, you have 32 kilohertz from the clock chip, and you're still missing PLT reset, you probably have a dead processor, or a dead PCH, which is built into the processor. You do not want to have that missing. The PM Sleep, I take PM Sleep S4L missing any day over PLT reset L. So let's remove the wire that we just ran, since we know that's not going to work now, and let's heat up our BIOS chip a little bit. Sometimes the BIOS chips can fail in that way, or sometimes there's a trace near the BIOS chip that can cause that issue, but you get a 10 liter if you're going to be handling big stuff like that. So let's heat up the BIOS chip, and remember, if it works, this is not a permanent solution, okay? I don't want people watching this think, oh, let me just heat up BIOS chip and start heating up stuff. No. Sometimes they fail in a way that will work, or sometimes there's a trace nearby that heating it will make it make contact again. So don't do this unless you know what you're doing and you know why you're heating. If you don't know what's wrong with the board and you decide, well, let me just heat the BIOS chip, don't do that. Stop right there and learn more. But we're going to heat the area. We're going to see what happens. I also want to use Flux just in case there is a broken joint under the BIOS chip. But I already know this is probably the CPU, and heating these CPUs does not make them work again. It's in the die itself, it's not in the bumps. Yeah, BIOS, yeah. So we're gonna let it cool down a little bit. It's still very hot. And then I don't want to put it back in the enclosure. We're just gonna use the USB mouse. So usually the BIOS chip, heating the BIOS chip won't make it work, and it's stuff in the area. That could tell us if we have a bad trace, a bad resistor, something like that. Of that matter, it's usually not gonna be just the BIOS chip. So let's plug this in. You can also measure a platform reset. seriously, it's doing the same thing, 0 volts. Is my charger bad? What? Does this charger work on another machine? The charger's bad. Okay. So I will use my other MagSafe 2 charger. Aaron, the charger that you sent me stopped working. So I'll use the other charger that I have from you. The one that I forgot to put back in the box. Let's see. Still no light. Let it do its RTC reset thing. Yeah, I killed it. It probably didn't like being plugged into boards that are shorted to ground. And okay, now the CPU is burning me. That's a change. Why is that? Alright, let me measure platform reset again, and let's see if it's changed any. These Intel CPUs, if the CPU does have some life in it, it's going to shut itself up before it melts the board. So, no, this board isn't shorted to ground. It just says 0, the amp meter is flashing at 0 volts. Hey, did I just get a pulse? Hey, I'm getting something on... No, I'm not. It's trolling me. It's dead. Yeah, dead CPU. So, you guys have seen it. That's how you diagnose a dead CPU. This board has no liquid, has nothing else visually wrong with it, and yet the CPU is dead. So, I don't know if this is going to start becoming a thing with Broadwell. I've seen it a couple times. This is the second one that I've seen doing this. So, you know, be on the lookout for this with Broadwell, especially the 00165 boards. And, you know, I don't know what's going to fix it. It's probably the CPU. I'm not 100% sure it's a CPU, but it's highly suggesting it's a CPU. So, thank you all for watching, and I hope this stream helps you in some way.